Okay, let's do this. Um, I'm like kind of like hoping you guys don't see my chin as I'm talking because this thing is too small for my thing. Anyway, yeah, okay. What is the psychological self in perspective, or what's the self in psychological perspective? Okay, so we gotta first learn what psychology is. So psychology, the word means psych, right? Psych means soul, mind, or something that's immaterial, like the spirit, and it comes the ology part or the logos part, which is basically as the study of something. So if you put these things together, psych and ology, it's basically the study of the mind, or in modern day of like psychology now, it's a scientific method or study of our mental processes or the brain, or what's happening in the brain that has a mind. So okay, there you go. So okay, the emergence of psychology uh, is a separate thing. Uh, one, as some of you know, probably if you haven't, if you have gone into like psychology or know the history of psychology, he is generally known as the guy who's he's more like the father of laboratory psychology. So like just what happens in the brain um, through the means of our like materialistic um, world point of view, if you know what I mean. So basically, he studies more on the brain, what happens there physically. Okay, so the science. I'm reading like a script right now on a PPT, and this is kind of like how I review for the upcoming exams. So yeah, I want to try something creative or something really strange, but I like doing this. Anyway, so as you all know, Sigmund Freud, I mean, he's kind of like named a lot, or at least from how I see or have conversed with people, he's known as the guy who basically Oedipus complex, yeah, mommy issues. Anyway, uh, but what is Freud's psychoanalytic theory? So psychoanalytic theory is a personality theory based on the notion of that the individual gets motivated by unseen forces and not controlled by the conscious or rational thought. So, okay, there we go. Freud's theory includes three parts of the mind. So, you have the id, the ego, and the superego, as all of you might know. So, the id is basically like what's inside of us, that's like our internal drives, so like our desires, our sexual desires, or the pleasure of what we want, and sleep, for example, aggression, like sex, right? So that's what it is. It's like the instinct of what our animalistic instincts, like hunger, what brings about our desires internally. The ego is more seen as the rational part, so it's a centered part of our inner psychology. Um, it tries to satisfy its desires in acceptable ways. So the ego is both like the reason part, so it's the center of our psychology. The superego, which is how I would explain it now, is sort of this um, the left side of your shoulder, which is where the angel is, and the right side where the devil is. So that's what it's kind of like a superego is. It's responsible and it like sort of like revolves around our morality. So if you want to make like a decision, right, that seems like a little like complicated, like you don't know how to feel about this. Like, okay, should I go to this friend group or go to this other friend group? The other one has consequences. They would be upset if I don't go to a friend group B or friend group A, which if I go to this particular friend group, they'll be happy that I'm there. So like it's kind of like it's like the devil and the angel telling you, okay, we gotta make a decision now, right? It's also it kind of like goes around the ego to make that decision for them because the ego is the center of all of this. Okay, what else? I keep checking the camera because like um I might accidentally like it might accidentally like shut off the recording. So okay, the unconscious mind. Um, this is basically an iceberg, right? So the unconscious mind is more so okay. What starts off what we were seeing right now, right? What I'm like conscious of right now. Like I'm conscious that I'm moving with my hand around and speaking, but I'm conscious about that. So there's three parts of this. The unconscious, of course, as I said before, the experience of what I'm aware right now. In the pre-conscious, this is more like the or the subconscious. It's the level of uh, thing that contains thoughts, memories that are not immediately accessible, but can be brought into awareness with some effort. So, for example, if you want to try to remember like something on your test or your exam, like you really want to try to remember that, but your brain isn't fast enough, or your mind isn't like processing it enough. So you literally have to wait for your subconsciousness to come about, or you have to either trigger it, or like it's also sort of like memory, right? You have to like sometimes for me or like just staring at a wall or something or doing something like playing video games. There's a memory that came about our mind for some reason. It's either it reminded us something externally to what we were doing, or it was literally just random. It just came about to your subconsciousness. So your mind reminded you of that. Now you're conscious of it. Okay, the unconscious. This is more on our desires, like our sort of like our instincts. Um, as it says here, this level holds thoughts, desires, memories, and emotions that are not necessarily accessible for a conscious mind. Um, it's more on dreams as well. The way our dreams sort of like come about, as we're like sort of like we're sometimes like aware that aware in a dream, so we're not aware that we're dreaming, right? So it's kind of like that. Um, it also like this also includes like repressed memories, unresolved conflicts, and instinctual drives that can influence our behaviors without us even realizing it. So, for example, if you give an example of like trauma, right? So, I for example like touch you somewhere, touch someone somewhere, and it triggered something within them. That made them sad. They don't really know why, but they're uncomfortable with it. So that's basically what the unconscious mind. So like something that we don't notice within ourselves every day, or at least some people that are not like self-aware enough of their own mind. It's something like that. Okay. Here we go. The psychosexual development stages. So at this point, okay, I'll be honest, I haven't really like gotten it or researched it for on a particular modern scientific level. But all I know, like this is probably like people that are very rigid about this. So according to Sigmund Freud, the oral stage or pleasure comes mainly through the lips, tongue, and activities for sucking, chewing, and swallowing. These are kind of like the few things that are responsible for the way we're like sexual right now, like our sexual drives, and also like things what uh you would prefer, like for example if we have fetishes, right? So it's kind of like that. I don't have like initial like proof or like evidence or like source for that, but I think I've read it somewhere. So it's kind of like that. And at the anal stage where this lasts for about like the second year of your life, and the energy zone. Goodness me, this mass is making me very busy. Um, there we go. Anal stage is the fixation during this stage results in an anal character. Um, so the third one, which is the phallic stage, this lasts about like the beginning, third year of the end of the fifth year. I'm not actually sure what that means, but this focuses a lot on our libido. Like this is something that's like okay, libido is big. From what I remember, is like sort of like our happy level, or like let's face it, our horniness level, right? This focuses on the genitalia area, um, if in the male and female, and this where it kind of like the Oedipus complex sort of like arises, right? As it says here, males experience castration anxiety, females experience penis So this is very strange how Sigmund said about this. But I think I could sort of see why about like penis. And you, I guess from what I like watch you for on YouTube, like but like let's not get into that because I don't have the sort of original sources for that explaining what Freud really meant or what it means now in a modern scientific way. Latency stage discuss about the beginning of the sixth year until puberty because of the intense repression recorded during the phallic stage. Sexual activity is all about eliminating conscious during the latency stage. So yeah, there we go. I just make sure I explain that well. Anyway, so this is the gentle stage. I think this is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one. Then we're gonna get to Eric Erickson. Um, this is the last stage, puberty, which through the remainder of one's individual life is the onset of puberty. So this is basically puberty, so like somewhere in the like adolescent stage, right? The sexual desires become too strong, too intense to repress completely. This begins to manifest themselves. The focus of like attention is now members of the opposite sex, um, or even the same sex. If everything has gone correctly through the preceding stages, this stage will culminate in dating and eventually marriage. So this is like our drive, right? This is our drive to like, oh, okay, I'm 18, I'm getting old, like I gotta play my game now, you know what I'm saying? So it's basically yeah, it's our instinctual behaviors as well. Okay, now Eric Erickson, which is known as the psychosocial development. Um, oh, have remember this word, but I was also studying a lot of Eric Erickson's history. Okay, Eric Erickson is a developmental psychologist who is best known for his theory of psychosocial development. Psychosocial development outlined 8 stages that individuals pass through the latency to adulthood. Each stage is characterized by specific conflict that must be resolved for healthy personal development. So, one of the few examples of this, which I'm not sure if I'm gonna edit this, but oh, I probably won't be on, so I'll just say it. So infancy, which is the so there's like each of them. First is infancy, early childhood, preschool or play age, school age, adolescence, young adult, middle adult, late adult or old age. So that's 8 of them. For example, okay, if a person doesn't develop something in their infancy stage, right? Which is called mistrust or trust. If a person grows up, or a baby, for example, like, um, how do you explain? I want to explain it on my own, but there's literally just something in my screen that I could like tell how this basically works, how this or how to explain this. But I'll just read it. Okay. In this stage, infants learn to trust their caregivers and the world around them. Successful resolution leads to feelings of security and trust in others. So like if okay, there we go. For example, if my mother, right, poses a lot of like trust in me, or I've put a lot of trust in my mother, she takes care of me, she can provide me food. I can trust her with like my let's say how I bring about myself if I fall, right? I can trust my mom to save me, like um like if let's even say if I can tell my mom a secret, right? I can trust my mom to promise that secret that it won't go anywhere. So that's what infancy is or trust and mistrust. This has to develop in a more secure way, so we won't have any relationship problems with anyone. So okay, early childhood was the second one. It's autonomy versus shame or doubt. It's basically saying that can I do things like by myself? Toddlers develop a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. Successful resolution fosters autonomy, while failure can lead to feelings of shame and doubt. So, to explain this and how I can remember it, it's basically like, okay, how am I gonna like, if I do decide to like, hold on, yes, yeah, I think it's on that I was talking about. So if I do decide to like do things in myself for myself, right, and if I fail, I don't have any shame or I don't doubt myself to say that okay, whatever um, I do that won't make me feel insecure, right? That's not gonna happen because I'm thankful for having a good family, and I'm thankful for having a good environment, good friends. So it's sort of like the development of like I'm not gonna have any insecurity because I know I didn't really grow up in such a manner that involves such having insecurities. So I think that's what it is. Oh yeah, there we go. While failure can lead to feelings of uh, shame and doubt. So like if I even if I like it's sort of like learned helplessness. You won't develop a sense of learned helplessness if you know to yourself that you can do it, right? So if you trust yourself, right? If you know that no, I'm not gonna doubt this because maybe like something in the exam was just like done wrong. Like I'm not gonna be like I failed this one exam. Now I'm gonna apply that to everything. So it's really like that. Um, Preschooler play stage is the initiative and the go. So like, can I take action, right? For like what I do. Um, Children begin to assert control and power over their environment through direct play and other social interactions. And this success can lead to a sense of initiative and failure results in go. Like it's sort of like the same thing with British childhood. It's like okay, if I want to initiate something, right? What I want to do, um, I'm going to be fine with that because we're just humans. We make mistakes and such. Um, Instead of like this other person of me, okay, I failed to be a leader in this particular project, in this particular group. I feel guilty about this. So it's sort of like if I have a preschool or play stage, it's like to say that I'm not gonna like guilt myself over, even if I'm being initiative, because that's what I still do. Like that's what I love doing. I love passionate about. I love being passionate about like my group projects and such. I won't feel guilty about that. Like, you sort of get what I mean, right? Just send like a preview of something scripted where they decide to release this anime. Okay. School age, industry versus inferiority. So school age or industry versus inferiority, can I be good at some things? During this stage, children learn how to cope with new social and academic demands. But there's something that's external as well. If one sex says or more can lead to a sense of confidence, and we're basically like industrial. So like you don't have any like inferiority problem, which unlike if you result in yourself like failures, right? The feelings of inferiority can like skyrocket. Adolescence. Okay, this is like one of my favorite parts in this um like stage, which is I think this is the eight, seven. This is the sixth. Yeah, this is the sixth stage. Identity, or just identity confusion. So it's the saying of like, who am I? And it's not just who am I, but like, what's my purpose in life? So it's sort of like that as well. Like, um, how am I gonna be independent, or like what am I gonna take in college? Like what sort of like what's my passion? It's sort of like that. So this is like the part of like the development of self as well. Um, this can either do this can either lead to like something that's successful, right? So it's a successful resolution leads to a strong identity. While if you're someone that's confused with your identity, right? This failure can lead to a role of confusion or instability. So that's what identity is. So like um, you don't know what you want to take in college. If you don't know like what you're good at, the things you're good at, what the things you're interested in, and such like that. Or even something that's like for example, like how you want to express yourself, right? You're sort of confused about that. Um, but my advice, you'll eventually like move out of the identity confusion if you've also had like an identity crisis before, which I had too as well. So like there you go. I did something I could very much relate to as well. If you want to hear about that. Anyway, so a young adult, so like maybe mid 18s or 20s, intimacy and isolation. This is sort of like this clashes now. Like okay, can I form a close relationship with someone? Like, can I have? It's not like intimacy as well in the sense of like romance, but something that's platonic, right? Or uh, young adults form intimate relationships, maybe platonic or romantic, or something that's just like either within your family, like your sister or your brother, that you want to like just have, form a good relationship with. Your psychology is kind of like gonna cling into that now. Like, okay, can I actually form a close relationship with someone without like breaking them off anymore, or like without sort of like being confused or like which friend group should I be in, or sort of like that. A successful resolution results in strong relationships, while failure may lead to isolation. So, kind of get where that's going now. Okay, middle adulthood. Uh, yeah, okay. I was actually old age. I didn't even see that. It's hard to see through the mask. Okay. Um, middle adult age or adulthood, generativity and stagnation. Am I contributing? So like it's more of a societal level again. Adults, I mean, I haven't. I'm not like 25 yet, right? Um, I mean, I'm an so quote unquote adult, right? I'm 18, but like I don't know how to like sort of like express my own actual experience on this. So I'm just gonna read it out loud. This read. Adults need to create or nurture things that will outlast them. Often through parenting or contributing to society, success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishment, while failure can result in involvement in the world. So, like, it's in the societal level as well. Like, okay, ah, how am I gonna contribute to like uh, to the government or something, or to this company that I really, really admire or care about. In late adulthood slash old age, integrity versus desperate. This is like one of the most important things that I've learned through Eric Erickson. So like it's a question that okay, now that I'm old, did I spend my life meaningfully? You know, did I create a lot of relationships that had good and bad times? It's a saying as well of like, uh, did I not regret anything? Or I'm not like, I don't think to despair, right? Um, I'm more seen as someone that's whole, have more wisdom, I'm more coherent. I have the ability to hold things together and to like respond to my emotions and respond to the external world that won't cause me any problems. So it's that. Um, as it says here, ego integrity is sometimes difficult to maintain when people see they are losing from their aspect of existence. So like it's sort of like okay, I hope everything that I did before as a 60-year-old, for example, I didn't regret it. I wish or I hope I said the things that I said, and whatever happens to me next, right? Just enjoy retirement. That I just like be gone in this world. I'm not gonna regret a few things as I leave this world behind. So it's okay. I don't know. Now it's just here, slides just showing like um the stages. There's like a conceptual, not a conceptual. I guess you can call it conceptual, uh, like framework of the 8 stages of psychosocial development. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, here we go. My favorite psychologist. Um, one of my favorite psychologists, the top one at least, Carl Rogers. All y'all, if y'all know this person, geek cinema. Okay. The core conditions of therapeutic change is what happened in 1957. So that the course of therapy literally changed. So, uh, when sort of like Carl Rogers came about and had like uh, research and experiment and like just talk to people that basically therapize them. So we have this thing called there's a conceptual framework in this slideshow again. So first we have empathy, the understanding of the client's perspective. Um, and it's not just empathy as well. I think there's also something that's called acceptance on this slide. But to like briefly say, it's basically like okay, even if you want to give advice to someone, as you're doing therapy, right? I think what you sort of have to do as well is just to listen to them, try to understand what they're going through, or trying to experience what they're like going through their own POV, you know, like by the words that they're saying. So it's sort of like that. You're feeling them. You feel for them. And this other one, congruence, this is the counselor's genuine openness and real conversation. So like genuinely like trying to help someone, right? Also like trying to not go insane while trying to like solve this person like a puzzle. So like you're not trying to solve this thing for this person like a puzzle. You're therapizing them. And which is the third one. Oh, I did one of my part that I was really obsessed with, or like really like glazing at is called the unconditional positive regard. So it's non-judgmental uh, s- of when someone says something embarrassing, right, or bad. It's non-judgmental, or it's acceptance as a second. So in terms of like unconditional positive regard as well, is that when we try to care about someone, we have to love them no matter what, unconditional. So like when your daughter, your son, or someone that you care about fails, you love them, like no matter what. Just because like he's just saying like, okay, my daughter is very successful at um like grades, right? I love them for that. Like I care for them. Um, but if they fail, I'm like okay, like frick off. Like you know what I'm saying. So it's the same that no matter what, right? You should still care for that child, and you should love them unconditionally, like no matter what they do, right? Especially if you're like a parent. I mean, I'm not a parent, but like I have a mom and dad. Well, random game. Okay, but you get what I mean, right? So Carl Rogers said that the self has two parts: the real self, which is who the person actually is, and the ideal self, who the person wants to be. Um, it's gonna explain here later in a moment, but I'm gonna read this part first. Development of this part is influenced by notions of my parents, of your parents, and what you admire in others, what society sees as acceptable, and what you think is in your best interest. Okay. With the real self, the ideal self, matches closely, the person experiences congruence, a healthy balance self. Like it's the same as well, like okay, how I feel right now, right? And how I'll respond to someone, for example, in a relationship. Like you have to respond to that honestly. Right? It's like the saying, well, there are a lot of on there, but it's like the saying of like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with how I think while responding to you in a tone that you would understand, and hopefully we can get to like a sort of like agreement or just an understanding of each other. So it's a saying that whatever the line that I feel, I'm not gonna pretend, right? For example, if I'm sad, if someone hurt me, I want to say, ha, yeah, it's okay. I don't mind that. I mean, obviously, how I feel isn't honest, so I'm not mind that. So I'm not congruent with that. So that's what congruence is. When they are too far apart, it causes incongruence, leading to anxiety or low self-worth. So the opposite of congruence, you're just pretending to like not be honest with how you feel with someone or with how you feel about yourself. You have to respond to this in a way that at least that could help you in tone of like being like truthful, right? So it's like that. There's a lot, a lot. I want to say. With regard of development, Rogers described principles rather than stages. In the development of the self, we saw conditional and unconditional positive regard as a key. Rogers believed that the unconditional positive regard, being accepted and valued without any conditions whatsoever, helps people develop a positive concept of themselves and even the others around them. People need an environment of acceptance, empathy, and honesty to fully grow. Uh, um, okay, this is more so like this whole thing is like a triangle, right? And it's called the person centered approach. So it's like it's therapy. It's basically therapy. There you go. And okay, I think this is the last one since we're discussing about the psychological view of the self. Uh, I sort of did not just briefly say it all out loud because I was more on hinting on like the history of psychology now. But like okay, whatever. I versus me. William James' theory of self. It's basically okay. I it's basically that's spinning your internal self. Because like me is more on focused on the societal level. Like like whenever a teacher calls your name, right? You say, for example, your teacher says, okay, who here is a graduate of who here graduated high school, and then you say, so like you're saying me because like someone else is like responding, or you're trying to respond with someone else in a interpersonal level, and I is more like individual stuff. I want to do this, I want to do that, right? I'll explain it here in a bit. So William James is considered as the founder of American psychology. In his influential book of the principles of psychology, which I'll actually try to read this more, as I actually haven't read about this guy as much. Um, he divided the self into two main parts: me, the self, the non-self, and the I, the knowing self. There we go. According to James, self is a subject. Okay, it's a subjective saying or experience of the self. Like it's I, me, or not I, not but just I, right? The self as a metaphysical fact, the consciousness is subjective. The thinker, that's the thinking. While James me is more of like an object, something that's subjective. The self of for example, in Wittgenstein's the self of like the 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 noun I is like, for example, I see the mirror, while me is more like I see me in the mirror. Okay, I can explain it because I'm just reading it here. So it's basically like I said before, like me is more focused on like something that's objective, like you're like communicating with someone uh interpersonally, while I is like the knowing self. Okay, there we go. And I think that's it. Yeah, and like there's another part here, but it's more philosophical. But I'll try to just do that, and I'll just try to like split these things into parts. Because again, I'm sure I actually said it, but psychology stems from philosophy. It's like it was like a branch of like something and it was studied to like more focus on like philosophy is more on thinking, psychology is more on to the soul.